What's that? Yeah. Why are you still here? Hello, everyone. I'm Father Aaron, and welcome to the Dungeon Minister. So, our heroes are pretty beat up after encounters with cockatrice. Well, nobody got hurt by the cockatrice, did they? No. They webbed it and killed it. But they did have run ins with skeletons, human and goblin skeletons, and with spiders. So, this pass through the Death Mountains, which is where they are, this pass is already pretty creepy. If you missed any of this, you can check it out in the last episode. And so, our heroes are feeling pretty beat up. Just as a quick reminder for anyone new, and welcome to anyone who's come along lately, our heroes include Bob Johnny and Fleetwood, the 5th level elves, Touchberry, the 6th level halfling, and Fofire, the 6th level thief. They are adventuring together on their way home after a major battle, and they've decided to take what they thought would be a shortcut, following the druid, because they figured the druid would know the quickest route, a druid they met in the forest. Do you listen to strange druids you meet in the forest? Yeah. Stranger danger, dude. They decided that they would listen to a strange druid they met in the forest, or at least follow a strange druid they met in the forest, so they're cutting across the Death Mountains. Sounds like a good idea, and this is where we find them. Having dispatched the spiders, or at least having held them at bay, they are now nervously spending a cold night. There's nothing to burn, there's no wood here, there's no trees. They're spending a cold night huddled together, and it is Bob Johnny's watch. Remember, they've already had their evening interrupted by the spiders during Fleetwood's watch. Well, it's the next watch. Bob Johnny. They've moved down the canyon again a little ways because they don't want to stay where the spiders attacked them. And as Bob Johnny watches in the night, casting his glance up and down the pass and watching the edges, because you never know, the spiders came from there. He hears a fluttering sound, a flapping, and... Is that singing? Is that singing? Oh no. Hang on. If that is singing, that is the worst singing I've ever heard. Well, what it is Harpies. This mountain pass is just turning into the worst place in the world. Anyway, this was a random encounter. I rolled it up. I don't normally use Harpies because I don't like them. They creep me out, right? But I rolled them up and here they are, so Harpies. They perch on the cliffs overlooking. Now these cliffs, by the way, in my little, terrain here, the cliffs aren't very tall, but in the game they go quite a ways up. So whatever. They're perched up there looking down, and the song is drifting down to Bob Johnny, who has to roll a save or be charmed. Now, this is the advantage of playing a demi-human. They have very good saving throws. He makes the roll and saves just barely by about 2 numbers, I think it is. He makes the save, and so... What is that beautiful song? That music, Wait, that's not music. That's just screeching. That sounded like my mother during the 1980s. Anyway, he doesn't fall for it. He's not charmed. He realizes something is happening. Now, here's one of those metagaming moments because the boys know about Harpies, right? They play other role-playing games, and so they know about Harpies. So the characters are kind of getting an advantage here. I try to keep them from metagaming, but it's a game. They're gonna know. And what do they? Well, no, I just happened to shove cotton in my ears and in the ears of all my sleeping companions, just because, So he knows it's a harpy, at least one. There's actually three. And he doesn't, he's not charmed. And he's about to wake up his companions when the music stops. The music stops, and out of the dark come swooping three harpies to attack. Two of them wing by, trying to attack. Boom, boom. One actually misses by a mile. It's not boom, boom, it's whiff, boom, because this one flies way past. The other almost succeeds, so I say it hits your armor. The claw rakes over your armor, the shoulder of your armor, and as it goes, you have an opportunity. It's close enough, you can get your attack in. He swings his mighty axe and just catches the harpy as it passes. It had hit its armor, which slowed it down enough that he was able to connect. Boom! He has gauntlets of ogre power on, that's a +3 strength bonus, and the axe itself is magical for a +1, that means he adds 4, but he rolls kind of low, and so I think he does 6 or 7 points of damage. Nothing huge, but it is enough to knock the harpy out of her flight, and she tumbles to the ground. She's not dead or anything like that. She's wounded, not terribly wounded, considering how many hit points she starts with, but she's out of her flight. She's on the ground now. What this is representing is the fact that we rolled individual initiative. Because it was just Bob Johnny, I decided we'll roll individual initiative, and the harpies, 2 of them got first initiative, positions 1 and 2. Then came Bob Johnny, then the other harpy. So I decided, the 2 come in, boom, boom, he can strike back, and then comes the third. And in she comes fast. Instead of using her taloned feet, she's going to use her hands, in which she is holding 2 daggers. So she lunges in and stabs, and I roll a nat 20. And I do the double damage for nat 20. And before bonuses, right? You just do the normal damage, you add whatever bonuses. Well, 2 daggers, that's 2d4 to start with, and then you double that, so she does a lot of damage. She does like 8 or 9 points of damage to him in one blow. Pretty awful, and then launches off of him with her taloned feet, launches off of him back up, and is hovering over him for another strike. At that point, Bob Johnny shouts, and everyone else wakes up. And I say, when you wake up, you're disoriented. What's going on? What's going on? So it takes a round before you're going to be able to do anything. During that round, what happens? Well, the one who had missed entirely on the first pass swings around now and comes back, and seeing Touchberry get up, slams into Touchberry. Hits makes contact, but doesn't get through the armor, and so sort of ricochets off, flapping big ungainly wings to circle for another attack. The one above Bob Johnny lurches down at him now with talons to attack. He also, of course, takes a swing at her. He misses. She also misses with her talons and begins flapping up to get higher to make a dive attack. Okay, meanwhile, the one on the ground starts to sing. This means that Foefire, Fleetwood, and Touchberry all have to roll, save, or be charmed. And Foefire fails. Here is the effect of the human, right? The demi-humans have a much better saving throw. They have much lower saving throws. Much easier to make. Humans, they eventually get very powerful. But in the early game, the demi-humans have a clear advantage. And here it is. Foefire is charmed, and she begins tottering over toward that harpy on the ground, tottering toward it. And the harpy, of course, is backing up, luring her further and further from the rest of the party. All right, next round, what are you going to do? The party decides, first of all, Fleetwood decides he has to intervene on behalf of Foefire, so he runs to attack that harpy. Touchberry has one that has hit him already, and he wants to get that one. Bob Johnny is still also engaged with one. All right, and of course, Foefire is still... The 2 flying harpies, though, dive in for the attack, battle on. One of them hits Touchberry, and he misses wildly. He's hit with those talons. Not a huge amount of damage, but they're not in great shape to start with. So he misses wildly. Bob Johnny does connect with his as it comes swooping down, and it takes off again, and now is flying up toward the ledge. It's going to perch and watch and attempt to support the song of the other one, right? Meanwhile, Fleetwood is rushing to intervene against the singing harpy, and he goes in for the attack. He hits, I think the first time the harpy's song is interrupted. I decide they can't fight and sing at the same time. I can barely walk and chew gum at the same time. Anyway, so he attacks, stops the song, so Fire is no longer being actively drawn forward, but she's still like out of it, right? They don't snap out right away. So she's sort of standing there wondering what's going on in her own little world while the fight rages on. Bob Johnny, seeing that his opponent has flown the coop, goes to help out as well, and they both lay into this thing, and it doesn't take much longer. That harpy is dead. Meanwhile, Touchberry is missing and missing and missing and missing, and having a devil of a time, right? At this point, the other one swoops down, coming back, and heads right toward Touchberry because he's actively engaged in a fight. And as it comes in, all ready to kill him, Touchberry finally lands a blow. Bang! Right into the gut of the thing, and it is down, dead. The other one he had been fighting says, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave now," and flaps away and soars off. I made a morale check, and I gave a sort of a +3 to the roll because, like, no thanks, don't want anything to do with this. Takes off. Hui. This is not a friendly mountain pass. Definitely not. The rest of the night passes uneventfully. And the next morning they get up, they eat a morning meal. I know. They eat a morning breakfast, and they head out. The day's travel is monotonous. The landscape hardly changes. It is dark, volcanic rock, hard, unforgiving, just scattered scrubby grass here and there. It is a forbidding landscape, and it doesn't change much as they go. Around noon, they settle in for lunch. Are you happy? Yeah, I know, second breakfast, lunch, 11 Z's. I know, but breakfast and lunch just sound so modern. I don't know. Is it just me? Anyway, they settle in for lunch, and they are gathered around, sitting and eating, and I say, make a wisdom check. There's a perception issue. I have rolled up another wandering monster. It's going crazy. Like, I'm rolling sixes all the time. I do a 1d6, a 6 is a wandering monster, so I'm rolling sixes like crazy here. So I say, make a perception check. All right. They do. Nobody succeeds. Nobody notices nothing. Okay? So I say, well, what it is this meal is comfort food for you. This has been such a harrowing trip. This pass makes you feel so uneasy that this comfort food is really important for you. You're devouring it. You're giving your whole self to this meal right now, okay? So you don't notice. And as you sit there eating, faux fire. Why does it always have to be faux fire? Suddenly, your back feels wet. Something's been thrown on you, like someone's thrown a pail of water on your back, except it's warm and it burns. It is sizzling, searing pain like you've never felt. She writhes around, and as she does, the rest of the party sees that her back is indeed wet with a glop, a sort of oil. And there, behind her, having snuck up very quietly, is a 3-foot-long beetle. Yeah, the oil beetle. Okay, now, the DM's guide says that the oil beetle will spray its opponents if it is attacked, right? But, nah, it's out hunting, okay? It's out hunting. And frankly, I find insects, and giant insects in particular, really unsettling. You remember the King Kong movie? The scene where the sort of leechy bug things ate? That haunted me for weeks. So, yeah, bugs, step on them, right? So anyway, this thing is out hunting. It found the party, and it snuck up and sprayed. Well, the response, you can imagine, Bob Johnny unleashes 3 magic missiles, right? And he doesn't roll particularly well for the damage. I mean, one of them is like a 5, the others are not really great. So the 3 missiles, of course, streak in and shoot in the body of this thing. And then Touchberry decides he's going to jump on its back. Why not? All right, make a dexterity check. It's a pretty big surface, but it is slick. It is greasy. It's an oily creature. So he rolls it, and he rolls his dexterity score, right? Normally a dex check, you try to get under your dexterity. He rolls exactly on it. Well, I say, okay, you land on the thing, and you begin to slide off, but at the last moment, your fingers clutch onto the edge of its shell. There you are, on the back of the beetle. Well, then Fleetwood says he's going to shoot it with his bow and arrow, right? He's going to take a shot. They all back off, except for Touchberry. They all back off because they don't want to get sprayed. And he shoots and misses, which means there's a chance he's going to hit Touchberry. And I roll for it, and yeah, you hit Touchberry.
Oh!
You hit Touchberry. Only a couple of points. He rolls the damage. It's not too bad. But, watch it, bud. All right. Touchberry then gets his sword and begins to stab, and the beetle goes down, and that's it. I think Bob Johnny hits it with his axe as well. It was a team effort. But the thing goes down. It's not that powerful of a monster. It was just the surprise and the horror of it all. Now, the oil has an effect. It has a -2 to all of Faux-Fire's hit rolls. Like, she's in so much pain, and her body is so burned that she gets a -2 on her hit rolls until it is cured with a Cure Light Wounds spell. Fortunately, Touchberry's sword does just that, and he hasn't used it yet. Using it that way, it will not replace any hit points, but it will stop the blistering and lift the penalty, the -2 penalty, which, I mean, she didn't do any attacking, right? She was hit, she was in pain, the other 3 attacked the thing, and she didn't do anything. She's just like, I'm just dealing with this pain. She didn't get her bow out. She didn't do anything. They attacked it, killed it. So the -2 never came into effect, but it did use up that sword. So that may be an issue later. On they go. Now, I roll yet another wandering monster, and it comes up insect swarm. Okay, so here I am thinking as I'm describing, you continue on your way, and I'm thinking, well, insect swarm, what am I going to do with an insect swarm? The ground begins to descend, right? It had been relatively level, but now it begins to descend, and you're hopeful. You're probably leaving the mountains, right? It's going down. That's good. All right. As it goes down, you notice the ground is becoming moist. It had been very dry, very arid, but it's becoming moist. The water here doesn't seem to be draining away anywhere. You don't quite know why. Maybe it's just the descent. And as you go, it gets wetter and wetter. Well, we're going to find out why the water isn't draining away soon enough. But in the meantime, it is soaking the ground, and that attracts insects. So as they walk, I say, you see ahead of you, those like little flowers? There seem to be little glistening bits all over the ground. It looks like a field of almost crystal flowers from a distance. What is that? And they're blowing gently in the wind. They get closer, and just as they see, wait, those aren't flowers. They're insects. They disturb the swarm, and up it rises from the ground, filling the air. Now it's mostly in front of them, so they backpedal fast. Their experience with insect swarms has been very, very bad. So they only ran into one insect swarm, but they think of them as being simply deadly. Like they'll pick all the flesh off your bones in a minute kind of thing. They're not that bad, but that's how they think of them. The big problem is, how do you fight them, right? You can't hit a bug, right? So they backpedal out of it quickly and try to decide what to do. And they watch as these insects just fill the pass, right? There's no way through. Oh, great. Great, now what are we going to do, right? This is this huge swarm of insects. So Fleetwood, I don't quite follow his reasoning here. He took one of his spells that day. He took Phantasmal Force. So he says, I'm going to create on the other side of the swarm. Even if this worked, it would have been a bad idea. I'm going to create on the other side of the swarm my white dragon. He's used it a couple of times before. He's named it too, Frostfang. That's pretty cool. So he wants to create a dragon to scare the insects, right? Now follow me. He's creating it on the other side of the swarm. So if this works, the insects will flee toward them. This is not well thought out. And it also puts me in the position of, does a phantasmal force fool an insect, right? There are some creatures which are too dumb to fool, right? You can't trick a worm, right? I do a magic trick for a worm. The worm doesn't care. You could do magic tricks for your cat, and the cat would just be like, yeah, okay. So insects, are you even going to be able to fool them? I decide that they will see it. I mean, they will see the thing there. But being insects, they're not going to feel fear. They will go and attack it. I mean, insects attack big creatures all the time. Cows are surrounded by flies, right? So they're going to swarm in and attack that. And because it's a phantasm, as soon as they attack, as soon as a hit registers, and an insect swarm automatically hits, as soon as a hit registers, it vanishes. So that's what happens. Kind of a waste of a spell, but then I don't think Phantasmal Force would help them very much in what they're about to. Never mind, I won't spill the beans. So now what? They decide, you know what, we're just going to sit here and wait. We're going to sit here and wait. The insect swarm is filling a space. They're not going to chase the adventurers. As soon as the party got out of their area, they left them alone. So they're just going to sit there and watch the swarm until it settles down. Say, okay, well, that'll take 4 turns. So it's like 40 minutes sitting there until the last of the insects has calmed down. All right, now what's your plan? We'll get way over to the side. Well, all right. And we'll run. Okay. So they do. They just boot it through. So the insects now are going to be stirred up again, right? So as soon as they start through, the insects start to rise. And I have to decide where in the line will the insects be up and able to attack them. So I roll a 4. It means the last person in line, which is Fleetwood, he gets hit with it, but he keeps barreling through and gets out the other side. This is actually, I think, the cool use for an insect swarm. It's a way to make it, I mean, unless you've got Fireball, it's sort of or some other way of projecting fire in a large area. It's this block that you can't pass without taking damage, right? You can get through it. It's not going to stop you, unless you have very low hit points. But it's this way of just knocking you down a little bit, right? And they were already in kind of sorry shape. So again, it's not desperate situations. It's in the teens and low 20s here, but all right. Through they get, though. And now the shadows are lengthening. Remember, they're down in the mountains, so even in the sort of mid-afternoon, shadows are cast everywhere. But now it's starting to get dark. We're approaching the gloaming as they come around a bend, and they see this. This is a piece of terrain I have been looking forward to. I have been looking forward to this. It's an idea that I got from Jay over at Terrain Made Easy. Now, Jay doesn't do any new videos anymore. He's not making new videos, but all of his stuff is up there, and I will put a link to this project down below. He does it a slightly different way. This is an adaptation of his idea, but really the aesthetic, the idea is all his, okay? This thing, when I put it down, right, it was so cool. You're like, oh, you know, it was a pretty cool moment. Anyway, the pass narrows in, and here it is blocked. It is a dead end.
Dead end.
Now, this dead end is why the water doesn't drain, right? It can't get out, and it builds up here, and the ground is soggy. It squishes under your feet as you approach. And say, who says we're approaching that? We got to talk this over. So at first they try to, okay, we climb the walls. No, you can't climb the walls. Should we go back? I'll get and go back through the insects, past the harpy, that harpy that's still out there. Who knows how many spiders there may be? I don't know. Maybe the whole ghost army thing happens again, right? No. We've got to go on. And it looks like that entrance is the only path. Well, yeah. Okay. So they decide they have to approach. They cautiously approach. Once they get within a certain distance, I just sort of once they get this close, out of the ground erupt skeletons. Now, my boys say, "Wow, skeletons, no biggie, easy. We could 4 skeletons. Come on, we fought 30 of them back there. No problem, right?" Except these are not average skeletons. These are super skellies, 5 hit dice each, and they can shoot their bony fingertips like missiles, which is an idea I got straight from the basic Dungeon Master's Guide, page 48, Trick Monsters. All right, that described it as being like magic missiles. I have a hit roll for each of the 5 fingers, and I decide the damage will just be a set amount. If it hits, it does 3 points of damage automatic, right? So here they are. They sprout up and stand, grinning down at the adventuring party. The adventuring party decides, all right, let's go. Fofire launches an arrow, misses. Full fire. Touchberry and Bob Johnny rush in toe to toe with 2 of them right away. Fleetwood decides he's going to go up the embankment and climb up to one of them up on its little perch up there, right? As he's climbing, and in response to Fofire's arrow, both of those 2 skeletons reach out their left hand and fire their fingertips off. Would there be a recoil? Would it be a boom? No, I don't know. Their fingertips launch off, and that's 5 hit rolls, and in both cases, 2 of them hit. So bam, bam, 6 hit points damage for each. Bob Johnny comes in, and he doesn't even say, I'm not going to bother, lighting the axe to the Brosingus because it's just a skeleton. He swings that thing and brings it down, and he does connect. He rolls really high, like an 18 or something. Brings it down, boom! And he does like 8 points of damage, something like that. And I say, okay, you knock a couple bones loose. The skeleton staggers back, but it's still standing. Hang on, how on earth is it still standing? Skeletons, they go down automatically. Not these ones. Touchberry swings and misses, and in combat they are. The 2 skeletons that they're in melee with strike back. I think one hits, one misses, and I don't remember who hit, who missed. It was pretty fast and furious at this point. All right. Fleetwood is climbing up. He gets up to the level of the skeleton, and they engage in combat there, fighting back and forth. He hits a couple times, but again, this is a much stronger skeleton. It stays up. Fofire's skeleton, having shot its only range attack, has come down now and is running's probably the wrong word, trotting toward her, all right? And she takes another couple of shots as it comes, hitting once, but here it comes, and now it's in melee range, and she pulls her sword, and they start to fight. She's getting the worst of it there. Bob Johnny is having an awful time. Having hit the first time, he can't hit for love nor money. He's swinging whiff every which way. Nothing's connecting. Touchberry has much better luck, but he is similarly frustrated as he hits this thing and hits this thing. It's still not going down. Well, that's because it's got like 24 hit points or something like that, right? So he's wailing on this thing, and it's still standing, right? Still fighting. Fleetwood is having the same problem. He decides he's going to try to push the skeleton off of the ledge, right? I did a sort of mechanism where if he hit, first he has to make contact. The skeleton can't dodge. And then we do a strength check to see if we can get him off the platform. I think that's what I did. So he makes the hit, makes contact, but then rolls 1 over his strength. So he pushes and pushes, and the skeleton backs up, but then it shifts its gaze, and its claws dig into the ground, and it begins to push back. Now it's going to try to push him off, tit for tat. Roll that. It comes close. It comes close. He almost gets Fleetwood to the edge, and Fleetwood is right there when he finds his footing and is able to shove back. And for some reason, he doesn't want to pull his sword, doesn't want to swing his sword. He's going to keep the shoving match going and tries to push the skeleton off. But by now, because of the push and pull, They've switched around. And when he pushes the skeleton off, this time he succeeds. When he pushes the skeleton off, all it does is fall down right in front of Touchberry. Fortunately, Touchberry had just defeated his skeleton, right? Just destroyed it, finally. And so, here's a new opponent. Meanwhile, Fire is dying over there. I mean, not all the way dying, but she's getting down, 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 doobie-doo, down, down. She is in trouble. So, Fleetwood, having pushed his skeleton down, now drops the sword, pulls out his bow, and takes a shot and hits that skeleton. Which is good, because if he hit Fire, he might have killed her. He hits that skeleton, knocks a bone or two off, okay, and at this point, Bob Johnny, still wrestling with his bang bang, says, no, don't help me. Don't help me. I want to do it. Remember, Bob Johnny's played by the youngest. He doesn't want help from his older brothers defeating a skeleton. He wants to do it himself, so he keeps fighting away. So Touchberry says, well, I'll go help out Mama. I'll go help out the, Fire down there. He trots down and attacks the skeleton from behind and hits. It's still alive. So Fleetwood takes another shot. You guessed it. Misses. You guessed it. Hits Touchberry. Ow! Stop that! Now, it's all in good fun. All right, now Touchberry and Fire together take down that skeleton, and in one final mighty blow, Bob Johnny finally downs his. Hey! All right. The night is setting in. It is dark. It is painfully cold. What do you want to do? Well, they know they need to rest. They are all far too low in hit points to go into a door that looks like this, right? So, all right, we're going to make camp. And for some reason, they come up with the insane plan of camping on top of the skull. Yeah, we'll camp up on top of the skull. That'll be fun. That'll be cool, camping up there. Okay, it would be cool and insane. Do you all want to do that? I ask. Just to make sure. They hear something in my voice, and one by one, they back out. Till it's just Bob Johnny. I want to camp on top of the skull. Yeah, I want to camp on the skull. And finally, he is talked down from it, right? No, that's probably not a good idea. I have no idea what would happen to you if you did camp there, but I'm thinking insanity would be involved. I'm thinking there would be a roll and, you'd go, oh, because come on. Anyway, they all decide that they will back up a little bit. Not back to the insects, not that far, but go back a little ways around the bend so they can't see this thing and make camp. I hope they have a good night's sleep, because tomorrow it's either head back west through all of that or into the mouth of the skull. Oh, all right.